Today we're going to talk about how to calculate your GPA. Then we'll talk a little bit about any academic actions that may be taken based upon your GPA calculation. This slide represents the Ohio State traditional grading scale. Every grade is assigned a specific point value. This point value represents the numeric value of that grade as it will be calculated in a GPA. At Ohio State, we do not utilize a grade of F when a student fails a class. We classify that grade as an E. It is important to know that there is no D-, E+, or A+ grade. In addition to the traditional grading scale, there are some other marks you may see when looking at a grade report, advising report, or a degree audit. If you received any AP credit or have received class credit by testing out of a class through an examination, that will be indicated with an EM mark. If you are unable to complete a class for some extenuating circumstance, you may see an I representing incomplete on your report. You will work out an individual solution with the instructor of that class on how to complete that class and earn a grade. If you fail to complete the plan you created with your instructor, the incomplete will change to whatever your grade would have been with the missing assignments included. Therefore, it is imperative that you successfully complete the plan set by you and your instructor. If you have credit transferring from a different institution, it will show up with a K mark. A mark of IP on a report represents a class that is in progress and does not yet have a grade. If you are auditing a course, it will show an R mark. Auditing a course is when you attend a course, complete all the assignments and exams, but receive no grades or credit. You are sitting in the class for knowledge only. Some classes don't utilize the traditional grading scale and are not graded. Instead, you'll receive a mark of satisfactory or unsatisfactory. A W is a mark that is put on your record when you drop a class after the published registrar deadline. There are many different drop deadlines throughout a semester that you need to be familiar with. So when in doubt, ask your advisor. All of the previous stated marks are not calculated in your GPA. They will have no effect on your semester or cumulative GPA. A mark of EN is considered a class you have failed for not attending. This grade will be computed in your GPA as an E and therefore will affect your semester and cumulative GPA. Keep in mind, for a class mark to be calculated in your GPA, it must have a point value associated with it, so only graded courses count toward your GPA. There are two different classifications for credit hours. There are earned hours and cumulative hours. Earned hours represent credit hours that you have earned college credit for. These will include marks that do not have point values associated with them, like EM credit for your AP classes or K credit for any transfer credit you have. Your cumulative hours are the total number of credit hours that are graded and therefore calculated in your GPA. All classes that have grading scales with point values associated with them will be counted in your cumulative hours. Keep in mind that all of your cumulative hours are calculated in your earned hours, but not all of your earned hours are calculated in your cumulative hours. Ohio State has a policy in place called freshman forgiveness. Freshman forgiveness allows students to retake courses in which they have done poorly so that their GPA can be recalculated. In order to utilize freshman forgiveness, the class must have been taken in the first 29 credit hours of college enrollment. While any EM credit, including AP credit, will not count towards those 29 hours, all transfer credit, including post-secondary courses, will count. Freshman forgiveness can only be used if the student has received a grade of a D+, D, or E. The student must retake the exact same course at Ohio State and must complete that course within their first 59 earned hours. It is important to note that the second grade will always replace the first grade, regardless of whether the second grade is an improvement. While that first grade will stay on the transcript, it will not be calculated and therefore will not affect the GPA. Only the second grade will be considered in the GPA. Now let's talk about how to actually calculate your GPA. Here is an example of a student's class schedule. Before we calculate this GPA, write down a guess as to what you think the GPA will be. In a few slides, we will see how close your guess was to the actual GPA. In order to calculate this student's GPA, you first want to recognize the point value associated with each grade this student received. Refer to the second slide of this presentation to help you identify the correct point values. This student received a B+ in Communication 1100 and therefore receives a point value of 3.3 for that class. The student received a B- in Math 1131 and therefore receives a point value of 2.7 for that class. You can see the point values associated with all 5 classes on this slide. Next, you want to calculate the total credit hours and credit points for this student. First, to calculate credit hours, simply add up the total number of credit hours this student took this semester. You'll see this student took 15 credit hours of coursework. To calculate the total number of credit points for this semester, you must multiply the assigned point value by the credit hours for each class. For example, Communication 1100 was 3 credit hours, and the grade of B+ receives the point value of 3.3. Therefore, you multiply 3 credit hours times 3.3 to earn a total of 9.9 credit points for Communication 1100. For Math 1131, it is 5 credit hours and a point value of 2.7, which gives you a total of 13.5 credit points for Math 1131. As you continue this math for all classes, add up all the credit points for each class to get your total of 50.5 credit points for the semester. Now that you have both the credit hours and credit points calculated, divide the total number of credit points by the total number of credit hours. For this example, you would divide 50.5 by 15 to get 3.36. This 3.36 represents the GPA this student earned for this semester. It is important to note that there is no rounding in GPAs. For Ohio State, the decimal will be truncated to 2 decimal places. How close was your estimated GPA to the actual GPA? Now let's talk about deficiency points. To graduate from Ohio State, students must have a minimum 2.0 GPA. If at any point during a student's time at OSU they fall below 2.0, they are considered to be in poor academic standing with the university because they are at risk of not having the GPA required to graduate. In addition to being in poor academic standing, students who earn below 2.0 earn deficiency points. The deficiency point system is used to represent how many additional credit points the student needs to earn to reach a 2.0 GPA. To calculate deficiency points, first multiply the number of credit hours attempted that semester by 2.0. Next, subtract the number of credit points earned for the semester from the number you calculated in the first step. Deficiency points are meant to give students an idea of what kind of grades they need to earn in order to get back in good academic standing. For example, a grade of a B in a 1 credit hour class, which will earn the student 3 credit points, will remove 1 deficiency point. 1 credit hour of an A will remove 2 deficiency points. Now let's practice calculating deficiency points. As you can see, this student did not have the best semester. Their GPA is a 1.84. Because their GPA is below a 2.0, they earned deficiency points. To calculate this student's deficiency points, multiply the number of credit hours taken for the term, which is 15, by 2.0 to give you 30 credit points. 30 represents what the student's total credit points would have been if they had earned exactly a 2.0 for the term. As you can see, the total number of credit points that this student actually earned is 27.7. Subtract 27.7 from 30 to give you the student's total number of deficiency points for this semester, which is 2.3. Deficiency points are also used as a standard to determine the appropriate academic action to be taken. There are 3 levels of academic action that could be taken, and these are only taken against students who have cumulative GPAs under a 2.0. Academic actions are taken to give students a warning that if their grades do not improve, they are at risk of not graduating. All academic actions should be taken seriously. If you are ever placed on academic warning or probation, you should meet with your academic advisor immediately so that they can help you make a plan for how you can improve your grades for the upcoming semester. The first level of academic action is academic warning. A student is put on academic warning if they have 0.1 to 14.9 deficiency points. While on academic warning, a student's schedule is locked and they must speak in person with an academic advisor in order to drop or add classes. The second level is academic probation. 15 or more deficiency points will place a student on academic probation. Students with this action will also have their schedules locked. Academic probation is a very serious matter. If a student on academic probation does not earn a 2.0 GPA for the following term, they may be dismissed from the university. The third level is academic dismissal. Once dismissed, a student is not permitted to enroll in courses at OSU and must go through a reinstatement process to return to the university. Deficiency points continue to carry over from term to term. For example, if a student earns 2 deficiency points in autumn and 2 deficiency points in spring, they now have 4 deficiency points. Any student who has cumulative deficiency points is subject to academic warning or academic probation. The Fisher College of Business is a competitive admissions college, and a 3.0 GPA is needed to apply to be in major. Because of this 3.0 GPA requirement, any pre-business student below a 3.0 will be placed on either program probation or program dismissal. A pre-major student below a 3.0 GPA for the first time is placed on program probation. The student's schedule is locked and they must meet with an academic advisor in person in order to add or drop classes. At this meeting, your advisor will discuss strategies for improving your academic performance and review your course plan for the next semester so that you are selecting classes that are conducive to academic success. If a pre-major student on program probation is not able to raise their GPA to a 3.0 in their next term, they are in danger of never being admitted into the major program and may be dismissed from Fisher. If a student is put on program dismissal, their schedule is locked and they must meet with an advisor in person in order to add or drop classes. At this meeting, your advisor will help you identify alternative major options that can still help you reach your career goals. You must change your major in order to schedule classes if you are programmatically dismissed from Fisher. You will not be able to schedule classes as a pre-business student. If a student who was dismissed from Fisher pre-major program is able to raise their GPA to a 3.0 or higher in any following terms, they can still apply to be in major. Students do not have to be pre-business in order to apply for admission to Fisher. This now concludes our presentation on GPA calculation and academic actions. Go forth and GPA calculate.